We're live. We are live on X right now. It is the best day of the calendar year. We finally second best day. Best day of the calendar year is when the tournament actually starts. Sunday, Selection Sunday. We finally made it. Look what I got in front of me. We got a printed bracket right in front of me. Hey, you're listening on podcast right now?
Oh, that's
paper popping.
ASMR.
That's a paper bracket. We got the full thing here. BYU is going dancing. BYU is in the tournament. BYU with an excellent location draw. We'll get into whether that's a great draw for them or not here in a minute. But Chase, Selection Sunday, they ran through it. The Greg Gumbel intro was unbelievable. I'm sitting here getting teary. I'm like, oh, I don't want to feel this way going into Selection Sunday. But they did it perfectly. It wasn't too much. It was perfect for Greg Gumbel. I thought CBS killed that part of it. CBS kills this every single year, man.
That's one of the underrated parts about this tournament is the production is spot on. There's consistency, the music, the score bugs, everything about it is screams March, screams this tournament. And we don't need to shout out billion-dollar companies, but they do a really good job, and I appreciate it. And obviously, big shout out to Greg. Man, I miss that guy. He was the voice of March. But
unbelievable.
In his honor of this tournament, man. Come on.
I know. And what a tournament, man. You look through the entire thing and you go, that's a great game. That's a great game. That's a tough path for that team. Everybody has a tough path in this tournament, it feels like. Nothing's going to be easy. But let's get right into this show, Chase. Let's start off. BYU is a 6th seed in March Madness. A lot of these bracketologists, first off, the bracketologists, a big fat L day for the bracketologists. They took a massive hit today because every single one of them was wrong. I think even the fielding the 68 had a solid bracket. It wasn't awful, but none of these bracketologists got the bubble even remotely close. Shout out Big 12 foe West Virginia. They got absolutely screwed out of this bracket because there's a dictatorship running the NCAA Tournament Chairman Committee. Bubba Cunningham, the acting athletic director of North Carolina. Coincidentally, they're the last team in. Coincidentally.
To be fair to all the bracketologists who weren't even close on the bubble, they should have been right. They should have been better. But we were all blinded. Well, not all of us. I mean, Karter, you and I have been saying for a few days, you drove the train, I hopped on it. UNC was making this tournament no matter what.
All they had to do was beat Wake.
They beat Wake, and it was like, you are in. And obviously playing Duke close, I don't even think they had to beat. If they had lost Duke by 20, they'd still be in this tournament. It was going to happen. So I sympathize a little bit with the bracketologists because I think what they portrayed is more of what should be happening based on metrics, quad one record, all these things. But the freaking athletic director runs that committee. UNC was getting in. This is how it works.
Chase, he wasn't in the room when they made the decision.
Oh my gosh. They
had him step out.
Oh, that changes everything. No, dude. This was how it was going to be. They think we're stupid or something? UNC was making it. It's just how it works.
Shout out Eli Bond in the chat. He said, and we'll get to all of your guys' chats here in a second, the ones that are prior to this. We'll get into all of it here in just a second. Eli said in the chat, they looked like two guilty kids explaining why they broke the rules to their parents. That could not be more accurate. He nailed it. When they panned to freaking Keith whatever and Bubba Cunningham on the CBS show, they're sitting there with cold faces being like, dude, our parents are totally going to ground us. We are screwed. Holy crap. But we had to do it. We had to. There's no way we weren't going to do it. It's crazy. But Carolina gets in. West Virginia absolutely screwed. If I'm a West Virginia fan, I wasn't even nervous coming into today.
No, and maybe we just weren't tapped in on the West Virginia side of things, but you thought 10 seed, 11 at the worst, and now you're not even getting to play because Bubba Cunningham, he's like a super villain where you're like, he cannot keep getting away with this. It's like when no one in the movie knows what he's doing, but we as the audience do. It's like you cannot get away with this amount of corruption in college basketball. This is insanity.
Well, it's okay. Isn't it coincidental that the one team that gets to play on Tuesday gets an extra day of rest because they don't have to play until Friday? Another thing. I'm just pointing this out there. Look, I know this is a BYU podcast. We'll get right into BYU here in a second. I just wanted to point it out there. there are some sketchy things going on in college basketball. There's corruption, and it all stems from one place in a small town in North Carolina in Chapel Hill. It's just where it stems from. So anyhow, let's stop talking about them. They're going to be playing on Tuesday, whatever. This is the BYU podcast. BYU gets the 6th seed. Nolan Mickelson in the chat at 20. BYU, the committee had them at 21, so they didn't get bumped down based on Sunday or anything, which is great to see. BYU, VCU in Denver. Initial thoughts from this matchup when you saw it?
Obviously, great location for BYU. There's going to be a ton of BYU fans out there. Just over the mountains there. It's like 7.5. You can do that drive 7.5 hours. You can get a cheap flight. Probably
we might have to send Chase. We might have to send you.
Might have to send me. We'll see.
We'll talk after the show. We'll have a meeting in the minds.
We'll talk to the higher ups as well. But it's a great location. I mean, you really couldn't ask for anything better. Easy travel, same time zone, elevation advantage. All those things are in favor for BYU. Location's awesome. The matchup, I also think, of all the 11 seeds, isn't bad. I kind of like this matchup for BYU. They've been able to handle teams that play similar to VCU. Mm-hmm. And I also was having a conversation with a buddy who we were making really good points. I think he was and I was about, do you want to, as a 6 seed, you're guaranteed to either play a mid-major conference champion or someone close who snuck in, or a Power 6 team that was struggling and now has to, I guess Power 5 now in college basketball, has to now play as the 11 seed, like UNC, right? Who got in, who shouldn't have been, but that type of caliber where it's like, do you want to play a power conference team or do you want to play a mid-major? And my argument was, I think mid-major is more where you're leaning, where BYU can be a little more physical with them. They've been through a Big 12 gauntlet now, and it might be BYU has the edge there. But I know that's up for debate. Your thoughts, Karter?
My thoughts initially, out of the 11 seeds, I think I agree. I would have rather had San Diego State if they weren't a bubble team. You were going to get them in the first 4 either way. San Diego State would have been my preference on who you get to play. Out of the other ones, honestly, I think I would have been more okay playing. North Carolina's playing a good brand of basketball right now, but I think BYU really matches up well against the Tar Heels. I really do. I think they match up well against San Diego State. I need to watch more VCU tape before I fully dive in, and we'll do an extensive preview tomorrow night. That'll be out on the YouTube and Twitter and all that. But I think what I've seen from this week with VCU and a little bit throughout the season, which I've probably watched about 4 or 5 total games of them, to be honest. And I think BYU can match up well against them. Ryan Odom's a really good coach. I think an underlying thing in this game as well is Ryan Odom apparently has already accepted the UVA job. He's going to University of Virginia from everything that's been told. That's going through the message boards and through all insiders in college basketball that he's basically handshake agreement. I'm going to Virginia the second this season is done here at VCU. So I wonder if that has any underlying things going into this game. I think the biggest win here is BYU playing in Denver, man. That is a huge massive advantage. That place is – we got Wisconsin playing there as well, Michigan, A&M. That place is going to be royal blue, man. That place is going to be 70% BYU fans during that session. It's BYU in Wisconsin and VCU in Montana. BYU and Montana might have the most fans at this game. So – This is such an advantage. They played in altitude. BYU fans are going to travel, and there's a ton of LDS people in Colorado as well. I think BYU got a very favorable get in this spot. Now, VCU is a much better team than like Duquesne was last year, but also this BYU team's better than this BYU team's better than the BYU team of last year.
Yeah, I totally agree. Don't forget Michigan, UC San Diego, and Texas A&M and Yale, the other matchups there in Denver. So really no one close by, maybe San Diego fans. But again, teams like that usually don't travel well. I mean, you'll see a few there. But it really is perfect. But going on to VCU, right? If you're BYU, I think you need to keep doing what you've been doing over the past 10 games. Obviously, the Houston game, we've talked about that. If you didn't get to hear our thoughts on that, the preview's out on pretty much every platform that we're on. But someone said in the chat, and I think it's actually a good point, MVP 30 Curry. I think he also goes by Jake Retzlaff for Heisman, which is a great Twitter handle. He says he thinks VCU feels like a West Virginia team which I'm sure you've already seen the stats by now. VCU ranked very highly in opponent field goal percentage, very defensive minded, a lot like what Brett Saffer-Hodgson is saying here. West Virginia was to BYU, and West Virginia was able to sweep BYU was able to sweep West Virginia. Obviously, that game in Provo went a lot better than the one there out east. But we've seen BYU be able to handle these defensive-minded teams when they are physical back. Houston's been the one anomaly where they were just so much more grown up, so much more physical, so much more athletic, where BYU wasn't able to handle it. But Iowa State, Kansas is a really good defense. People don't understand. West Virginia, all those teams tried to big boy BYU with their defensive presence, and BYU handled it masterfully. So if you're VCU, right, you try to do the style of those teams, but you also don't have the athletes that Iowa State, Kansas, and West Virginia do. I'm not saying, they have some good players, don't get me wrong. It's just a little bit different style, different brand of basketball. BYU's been played 18 games in the Big 12 now. They understand what the feel was, and I think they've upped their game from what we saw at the beginning of conference play to be more physical, to be more aggressive. And I think so BYU is going to have the advantage there, being able to play with a team that's going to try to suffocate them defensively, because if you watch any tape on BYU, that's how you stop them, right? Try and put pressure on the guards early at the half court, get them to slow down on offense. But BYU has handled that throughout these last 2 months that we've seen sans that Houston game every time. So from that perspective, and that's VCU's strength, I do like BYU's matchup there.
Yeah, and I like it too because kind of like what you touched on a little bit. Yeah, the Houston game, Houston's physical and whatnot, and you're like, oh, well, if VCU's physical and likes to play a little slow and muck it up, that's worrisome for BYU. But it's kind of like, okay, where is VCU on the spectrum? Are they closer to Houston or are they closer to West Virginia? They're much, 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 much closer to West Virginia. Not every team's like Houston. Not every team can play like Houston.
No one's like Houston. Can I say that? No one's like Houston. They're unique. They're crazy.
They're freaking good, man. And so with this VCU game, I think it's a good matchup for BYU. BYU, it's going to come down to a couple things of the guards dictating the tempo. And I think an important thing going into this game, like I said, we'll dive into this preview more and more tomorrow, but I think Yegor is going to play a big role in this game, making sure BYU pushes the tempo, gets VCU in a game they don't want to play, which is up-tempo, fast-paced more. And then if BYU gets in transition in this game, it's donezo, man. It is donezo. Now, Chase, have you seen the Vegas line that has come out?
I saw early on FanDuel 3.5 for BYU.
It is 3.5 for BYU. That feels low, in my opinion, for a team that ranks much higher in KenPom, and VCU has not faced, according to Robbie McCombs, shout out, has not faced a team in KenPom in the top 40 this year.
I thought they were decently close in net, and I think that's why the line is as tight as it is, Carter. Actually, you have VCU 30 in KenPom, BYU 24, and I think their net rankings are pretty close to each other. But I think, to your point, I think you're absolutely right. Just because of what we've seen from BYU these last 9 games, look at the opponents they've knocked off. They've done it on the road. They've done it in different ways. They play all these guys. Now, VCU's done the same thing, just with far inferior opponents and in a worse conference. And that's, it's not being rude or hot take. It's just the nature of college basketball and what they have going on there. So the line is tight. It is March. So I think Vegas also takes that into account. And all that's going there. Now, we're going to do a super deep dive into analytics and stats and all this stuff. I'll tell you something that's not analytic, all right? Because at the end of the day, whether you like it or not, March doesn't come down to analytics. There's these certain things. There's the magic, the storylines, all these things that come into play. Duquesne last year, right? Last game, last hurrah for their head coach. He was retiring. They had that storyline in there. They were underdogs. They weren't even supposed to make the tournament. They won their conference. They were able to get it done. The thing about VCU, and you kind of brought it up, Ryan Odom's out the door. They also were a team who was a threat to just get an at-large bid, so they don't even have this big underdog mentality where they're on this miracle run. They were expected to be here, so they don't get to carry any of that little, like, we can do something magical here. And maybe they're obviously going to think that, but they don't carry that like we earned our way here. It was survived advance for us, even if it kind of was. They were on the bubble there. And again, this is super like non-analytic stuff. This is just me talking about March storylines here. But VCU is not going to be coming in with a whole lot of this magic storybook stuff whereas Duquesne might have had, and UCLA ended up making that run, right? And BYU can take advantage of that just by terms of there's no superstitious, oh my gosh, this team might be team of destiny for VCU. I know it's not good podcasting. I know it's not deep analytics, but that's what I first thought of when I thought of VCU.
I think that's a great point as well. Let's hop into some chats right now. We'll start from the top and work our way down. Shout out Alex. He said, at least we're in Denver. And then Samar said, honestly, good training in the loss to Houston to prepare us for a good VCU team. Kind of like we just touched on. VCU feels like a West Virginia team. You touched on that. And then Jack said, Chase, let's go to Casa Bonita. Chase, we might have to send you to Colorado.
We might have to do a live from Casa Bonita. There'll be cliff divers off in the background. That place is insane. Man, we might.
Big 12 Mafia said, tell us why BYU beats VCU. I'll do a super quick one. One, BYU is the more talented team, and also, like we touched on, Ryan Odom likely out the door at VCU, taking another job already. But also, I think BYU can dictate the tempo in these games. I think looking back at those West Virginia games, like you were saying, is a great thing to look at, kind of comparing, okay, what should we expect in these games? Because I don't think it should be a super easy game. I think they're going to be a little bit better than especially West Virginia was in the second matchup. But it's going to be a gross, muck-it-up game if VCU gets to dictate the tempo. But if BYU dictates it, then VCU physically can't keep up with their shooting.
Absolutely. Yeah. If I had to put in a quick hit, I'd say everything you said. BYU, more talent, more physical, more athletic. They're just the better team. Again, some of you are scared. I know I am too. I'm still nervous because it's March. Better teams lose all the time. But on paper, BYU should win this game.
And then staff_level only said, VCU coming to Denver might be the small bump BYU needs. The rest of the region, minus Duke, is very beatable. I think that is fair. You look at the rest of the region, you look at Wisconsin. We'll talk about BYU's path here in a minute. Wisconsin, Alabama, they've been a little shaky as of recent. And then Duke, who looks like they're going to be healthy going into March Madness, so that might be a tough matchup there. Clarkster Stu, shout out. He said, Sweet 16 run on the way.
Love it, Clark. Come on. Get a little positive in here. It's there. The Pat's there. This is the team. We've been talking about it.
And then he also went on to say Kevin Young is about to win more tourney games in his first year than Mark Pope got in his whole tenure. Just wanted to throw that on here.
I mean, if they win. Yeah.
If they win one game, if they beat VCU, then he's 100% right. So yeah. Hopefully not too much to live up to. And then shout out, looks like it's coming in with these weird names.
Liger Boy?
Yeah, Liger Boy, shout out. He said, got my ticket to Denver. See y'all there. Unfortunately, I will not be able to make the trip to Denver. Chase, TBD. We have to get some higher up permission on that one. We'll find out. We'll get that. The second we find out, we'll get that news shortly. Alex Beach said, we just got to handle their experienced guards and be better at driving in the paint, and I feel good about the matchup. I think that's another thing, too, is in March Madness, you don't want to settle for threes too much and force the referees to make uncomfortable calls. Keep driving to the paint. It's what we said all season, Chase. I feel like we were doing this podcast over and over where it's like, Jaeger down, keep driving to the paint, put these guards on their toes, and then when you drive to the paint and you start having success, they're going to collapse on you more, then you're going to be able to kick out, find open three-point shooters. Feels very simple to me. And then Nolan Mickelson said, the Road Rock needs to show up in Denver. I don't have any doubts about that happening, to be honest.
It's going to be a big crowd. If you remember the Jimmer Sweet 16 run, BYU started the first two rounds in Denver. Mm-hmm. I did not get a go as a kid.
Boo your parents. Come on.
Not at all. If you guys don't know, I'm from Colorado. But I do remember a lot of people I knew heading up to there. I remember big BYU crowd there in Denver. So absolutely. I don't know if students, meaning the Rock students, will show up. I know spring break doesn't even exist for BYU, and that Thursday might be tough to get to. But there'll be a lot
Skip
of BYU
class.
fans.
You heard it from me.
We have a note for you guys.
Yeah, we'll write you a note. You can go to your professor and say, email at churchballpod@gmail and say, hey, and you can use our email. Tell them to DM us on Twitter. Be like, hey, why did so-and-so miss class? He said, we told him to. We told him to go cheer on BYU down in Denver. You don't need to go to class. This doesn't happen every year where you get to play within driving distance or a quick flight to your team. So go to the NCAA tournament game, skip class, watch that game. I mean that for everyone. And then Jack said, I don't want the Rock sniffing this game. Tickets are going to go to freshman Briley, McKiley, and Tractor. Holy crap, that's good.
Hey,
shout out Jack.
Shout out Tractor though. He knows a little bit about
Tractor
defense.
knows ball. What do you mean, bro?
Yeah.
Chris Bond said in the chat, corruption saved this tournament for UNC, and I'm all for it. He is a North Carolina fan, by the way. Every North Carolina fan. So I mean, no, I'm not going to do that. Maybe on Karter Cast, not on Field of 68. Let's move on. We've got Kenton DO310. Shout out. Oh, we'll go to Tyler Gregory. If BYU VCU comes down to the wire, who are the 5 you want on the floor? That's an excellent question.
Really good question. I'll knock out a few easy ones first. You want Moet Mag, you want Keba Keita, and Richie Saunders. Now, I mean, the fact that we don't automatically say Yegor, I don't know if it's concerning as much as it is like comforting that we feel pretty good about Dallin Hall. But I'm going to say, for sake of this game and this example, give me Yegor on the floor. And then it depends what you need, right? If you need a 3, you probably go with Trevin Nell. If you need, a bucket inside, you could even throw Dallin out there.
But that's the thing. What if they're pressing, then you're going to need Dallin and Yegor out there at the same time, I think. Exactly.
So it's all situational. If you feel like you need free throws, you throw Dawson out there instead. But the 4 I'm really comfortable with, Yegor, Keba, Moet, and Richie. And then the 5th is situational.
I'm kind of surprised you said Yegor. I don't necessarily disagree, but I think a lot of people would lean towards Dallin.
I think that's totally fair. I just feel like in this particular game, I think what's been tripping up Yegor is how aggressive these guards are. I think Yegor is going to be able to do something against a mid-major opponent. Again, I'm not trying to discredit VCU at all, and if this ends up bulletin board material, so be it. But I think Yegor has a good one.
Test bulletin board material, Chase. This is not the week. We can do in the regular season. This is not the week. I agree with that. I would probably go definitely those 3: Moet, Richie, Keba, no question about it. And then I think the rest is kind of situational between Yegor, Dallin, and then I'd probably lean Trevin. To be honest, but it depends like what kind of Trevin game you're getting at that point. It depends what.
Yeah.
So is Cannon healthy in this spot? And is Cannon on fire in this game? I feel like it's all situational at the end, like you were saying.
If he's 8 for 8, you wouldn't play him. We've seen that situation before. He doesn't get in.
Yeah. Sorry about my coughing, guys. I know it's annoying on the mic. I'm trying here. Shout out Kenton D0310. I got it right. If BYU shows up and plays a physical brand of basketball, I have faith in them against anyone. But can they do that consistently is the question. Yes, they can. I think the whole physicality point that people are getting tripped up about is they got bullied by Houston. Guess what? Everybody gets bullied by Houston. BYU has been the bully a lot in this 9-game win streak that they just had. So I don't worry about them having consistently showing up with physicality. I have a lot of faith in that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. They've been doing it. They've been doing it for 9 games, and then that Houston game, guys. VCU's not better than Iowa State. They're not better than a lot of these teams. They're not better than Arizona. They're not better than most of the Big 12, maybe half of it. So BYU's shown that they can win this game and that they're better. It's going to be completely up to can they show up and do it. Now, that's the big qualm with BYU is we were complaining 3 months ago that they just weren't showing up. They didn't want it more. They lacked energy in these games that they were losing. They figured that out. They had one slip up against Houston, one of the best teams in college basketball, just got a freaking 1 seed. I have faith that they'll do it because this is the new BYU. If they don't, then yeah, you're in trouble and you're gonna be really worried about this game. If they do, I really feel like they'll be able to at least have chances to win it at the very least.
How much do you take into account coaching pedigree in these games where, everyone's going to be looking at – look at the bracket here. Give an example of a game. Like, Oregon Liberty. Dana Altman has a ton more experience than Liberty. And what's going to be – are people just going to automatically assume that the coaching matters that much more in that game? Or kind of more, is it a disadvantage for Kevin Young not coached at all in this tournament? Ryan Odom, I believe off the top of my head, is 0-1 in March Madness at this point with his one loss at Utah State.
I think so.
Does that have any bearing on this game for you?
For this particular game, no, because like you said, Ryan Odom doesn't have March Madness experience, not a plethora of it. I think you're right, and someone can fact check us on that. He's played one game, he lost it. That's it. I mean, Kevin Young has finals experience, so in big games, in big moments, in Game 7-like environments where it's win or go home, you could even say Kevin Young has the edge. In this particular case, though, I don't think so. There might be situational things that end up working really well. I think the pre-game stuff is more important. How are they going to scout VCU? How are they going to prepare for them? How are they going to install sets that will work? That's where coaching comes in. And Ryan Odom's an excellent coach, and so you can be dang sure he's going to have a great game plan for BYU. Kevin Young has proven he's pretty good at that too. So as far as coaching goes in the game, I think it's maybe a wash for this one.
I don't think it has any bearing at all, in my opinion. I think it's the most overrated thing we talk about in the March Madness because Dan Hurley's been to 2 Sweet 16s, but he's the most decorated coach in the country right now.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. He's also very good, but we say that because he's won those too.
Tony Bennett's 1-0 in Final Fours.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think it's more of like the preparation, the scouting. Yeah, and we didn't even talk about. Sorry, it's a big advantage. Jeez, it's a pretty big advantage. BYU knows who they're playing. They don't have to wait for Wednesday.
That's a huge thing. That's the other thing. Like Kevin Young talked about that after the Utah game. He's like, "Look, this is going to be weird in the Big 12 tournament where you have less than 24 hours to scout your opponent." And clearly this coaching staff uses that time very, very well to scout their opponents, and they're going to have all week to watch just hours and hours and hours of VCU film. And look, whoever these assistant coaches are, they're making great game plans going into a lot of these games, especially when they have a lot of time to do so. So I'm excited. We'll see. Let's keep going back into the chat. Staff level only in the chat said, can y'all preview Duke versus BYU, the game all of us North Carolinians need?
You're the perfect person to do this, Carter. You root for both of them. I can find a more qualified cat.
Let me answer this question first. Arizona Coug, shout out Jax. He said, is Carter going to cheer for BYU or Duke in the Elite Eight? People keep asking me this question. Carter, are you going to cheer for Duke or BYU? I respond with, I have a level of integrity that I will uphold my journalistic integrity, that I won't cheer for either team, that I am an unbiased capital J, big J journalist. I don't understand this idea of being a quote-unquote fan of a team. That's so disgusting, Chase. Who would ever be a fan of a team like that when you are a journalist? We are journalists, Chase.
Keep fandom out of the media. Ugh. Get out of here with it.
Gross. Imagine having a bias going into a game, Chase.
Yuck. I would.
God.
I would never.
Hey, we have journalism degrees. We would.
Doesn't say journalism, but we have degrees.
Does it? I don't know what it says. It might not even say anything. It might just say. It might be fake. Who knows? No, I'll be honest. I would definitely cheer for BYU in this spot. I'm a BYU alum, went to BYU. I've said this before, but I would cheer for BYU in this spot. Like, would I feel like Donna Kelsey in the box? Yeah. But Donna Kelsey was definitely favoring one of those kids over the other. Let's be honest.
Part of me doesn't believe you because it would be.
Doesn't believe you
because it would be an Elite Eight matchup, and I think
would not care.
If this Duke team loses the Elite Eight, they're one of the bigger disappointing Duke teams of all time, right?
By all means, then that's fine. Then BYU's going to the Final Four. I would not give a single crap.
That's fair.
BYU's first appearance of the Final Four would be way cooler.
Yeah, I agree. I'd question your integrity a little bit as a BYU fan.
But we're big J journalists, Chase. We don't have to decide. We're unbiased, so it's okay. So anyhow, and then preview Duke versus BYU in the Elite Eight. Look, what I think would happen, I don't think BYU has a chance. If we're going to be honest, I think Duke matches up perfectly against BYU in every way, shape, and form. BYU would have to shoot 45% from three. As long as Duke's healthy, that size is unbelievable. Now, I think BYU has size to combat it a little bit, but BYU just doesn't have the one-on-one talent you need to take down a team like Duke. And who stopped? Okay, you put Mawit Mag on Cooper Flag. Okay, then who's stopping Conkanipple? Then you got Tyrese Proctor. Then you got Sion James. I think Duke just has too many guys. Now, am I saying it's absolutely impossible they would never win? No, but what would I put the Vegas line at? I'd probably put Duke minus 12.5.
That's steep, but I can't argue with you. Duke, I'd say that for pretty much anyone they're going to come against. It doesn't mean they're going to win the whole thing.
BYU thing.
No, they're legitimately one of the best basketball teams I've seen in college.
They just went in without their best defender and the best player in the country and beat a top 15 Louisville team on a neutral court by double-digit points. Like, this team's insane. Them and Florida are the two best teams in the country.
Yes, they are that good. It would be Kentucky 2015 Kentucky levels.
The committee screwed us, man. We deserve Kentucky and Denver and get a potential rematch of Mark Pope and BYU. Yeah. That's what we all wanted. I bet people at BYU even wanted that too.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% agree that we did get screwed.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, Louisville got screwed, by the way, too. But anyhow, let's keep going through the chat. Sam Emery, 89, said, nobody outside of the top 10 net scares me. BYU can be anyone. We can totally do this. I love the belief. I love the faith. Keep the faith, baby. Big 12 Mafia said, keep up the great analysis, guys. We will get together after the NCAAs. I love it. Hopefully see you at the Final Four. That's what I'm hoping for. Alex Holmes, too, said, y'all like the matchup versus Wisconsin, a potential second-round matchup against Wisconsin in the second round, Chase.
Yeah, shout out Alex, homie for real. I actually do. They talked about it a little bit on the selection show, a very offensive-heavy section of that bracket there between a lot of the teams. Wisconsin's no different. I think it's a good matchup for BYU. I think they actually play a fairly similar style. I don't think Wisconsin jumps out at you from an athleticism or physicality standpoint. And BYU probably gives the edge to them there. Now, that's early, and I obviously hadn't had a lot of time to think about it. Again, that matchup's hypothetical. Mm-hmm. But I think as far as the 3 seeds go, if we're looking at the rest of these here, it's not – I don't hate it. I mean, the other 3 seeds, just to rattle them off here real quick for y'all, Texas Tech, which
I'll share my screen on here.
Share that screen, Carter.
Yeah.
You have Texas Tech, which obviously wasn't going to happen because of the Big 12 ties there. And then you also have Iowa State, which wasn't going to happen. So, I mean, Kentucky's the only other one. Would I have preferred Kentucky? Yeah, sure. So, I guess Wisconsin was the only other option in the long run. But I do think it's a good matchup for BYU. I think they're similar. I think BYU has an edge physically. The Big 10 and Big 12 play different styles, and it's fun to see them clash in this tournament when they are able to get out and play teams that wouldn't normally play. So I think it'd be an amazing game, and I'd pick BYU, to be completely honest with you. I think most of the country would.
You'd pick BYU, huh?
Well, Carter, I said before this Houston game I was done picking against BYU, and then I picked them and they lost. So maybe I need to keep doing that reverse psychology thing I've been doing.
Yeah, maybe you should, like we did during all football season.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it worked. It definitely worked.
I would have much rather play Kentucky. I know Lamont Butler, they say he's healthy and he'll be ready to go, but that hamstring has just been lingering nonstop, and I don't think he's going to be able to go 2 full games without re-aggravating it in some way. So, without Lamont Butler, that Kentucky team we saw against Alabama, I mean, they're toast in those spots. So, but Wisconsin, this isn't your normal Wisconsin team, though. They're fun to watch, actually. John Tonji is legit. And John Tonji is the kind of guy that Jizzle James, a Javon Small, a guy that can torch BYU. So I'd be a little nervous there. I think Wisconsin would obviously be favored on the spread, but I don't hate BYU's matchup. I don't think that's the worst 3 seed to go against. Even like when you compare them, let's say BYU could have played, hypothetically, Iowa State or Texas Tech in the second round. I would rather play Wisconsin than either of those 2 teams, but Kentucky obviously would have been the ideal 3 seed to face.
Agree. Even some of these 4 seeds, like Maryland, you don't have to go up against, who could have jumped to 3 Maryland or whatever. Purdue, maybe you could talk me into that.
I would love to play Purdue.
Yeah, that's maybe a different story there. Purdue. A&M, I mean, and Arizona is the 4 seeds, so. I don't know.
Yeah,
Man.
and also I thought A&M was going to be a 3 seed. I was actually kind of surprised when they announced that early on. But like you look, I wouldn't want to play Clemson. Like Clemson's a nightmare matchup for anyone. I mean, we'll do a little bracket prediction at the end. I'll also do it on CarterCast as well. But I think Clemson might be in contention to make the Final Four.
Yeah, I agree. I think you avoided it, and pretty much that whole bracket sans like Duke, obviously.
So
the really hot teams, the ones that are like, oh my gosh, they're scary.
The other thing BYU avoided too is when I talked about this extensively after the Houston game, where it goes, okay, you might get matched up with Tennessee, St. John's, one of these more physical teams, and you avoided both of them. And now you're going against, if you make the next 2 rounds, if you make it, round of 32, Sweet 16 are probably the 2 most finessed teams you could have faced in this tournament, the least physical teams. BYU is going to be the more physically dominant team in those spots, actually. The first round is a little bit of the opposite story, but the next 2, it's not the worst matchups for BYU, to be honest. Now, do I think they're going to make an Elite 8 run? I don't know, but it's not far-fetched.
No, it's not. But CBS was giving them some love and made that prediction very clear. So I overall, I like this bracket for BYU, Carter. Let's go ahead and keep going with these chats. If BYU play, this is from Sam Emery 89. If BYU plays like they did in the second half of Houston, I think we'll be fine against anyone. People remember BYU won that second half, Carter.
Yeah, no, they did, and I did like the response. I just thought there's some silly turnovers, and then, like we said, they just couldn't make those big momentum shots to force Kelvin Sampson into some timeouts and calm down the crowd a little bit.
If they do that and then shoot at a better clip, I like them legitimately against just about anyone. Maybe not Duke, but just about anyone. Jack Carpenter says, already told Mika I'd take him to Casa Bonita. Chase, give people what they want. Man, get the people what they want. Give Chase what he wants, man. I mean, come on. You think I don't want to go? Chris Bond says...
We're working on it.
Chris Bond says, love that matchup. Wisconsin not going to make it very far. No love for Wisconsin.
Montana upset? Is that what we're saying? We're getting BYU versus Montana?
The Grizz. I
watched some of their title game.
Last time BYU played Montana, Dallin Hall hit a game winner there in Provo.
Wait, but Chase, you know who Montana beat, right?
Shout out my UNC.
They beat UNC.
Yeah.
Northern Colorado.
Man, shout out Northern Colorado. Actually, I'm pretty bummed they didn't make the tournament.
You should have been playing in this game. You should have been playing in the tournament.
Yeah, a little Chase lore for you guys. Did get a little look from UNC Greeley there. Told everyone I just said UNC. It didn't add the Greeley. But now you guys know the secret's out of the bag. It's actually UNC Greeley. I got a little look from that high school. Decided against it.
But those are 2 different places.
They could not be more different. Greeley's famous.
There's a Northern Colorado and then a Northern Colorado Greeley.
I don't know. It's Greeley's like the town. So there's the University of Northern Colorado, the whole region, and I guess they're specifying to Greeley. Greeley's famous for smelling like cow poop. Like, so when you go up there, legitimately the air just smells like dookie. So yeah. Anyway, fun little fact.
You went to UNC, UNC. Bubba Cunningham wanted you.
Yeah,
Bubba Cunningham offered you. That's what we're gonna say. That's what we're running with.
Yeah, he offered me money to put UNC in the bracket. Nolan Mickelson says, give KY and his staff 5 days to prepare for VCU, and I have no doubt BYU will win. Love the confidence. And also, like we said, knowing that who their opponent is huge. They've done a great job scouting so far this season.
Yeah, and you touched on this at the very beginning of this show that these, middling Power 5 teams that are playing in Dayton in the first 4, they are going to have a lot of confidence after their win in Dayton and getting their legs a little wet. A lot of those teams can sometimes fare pretty well in a 50-50 ball game.
Yeah, absolutely. So Kenton D0310 says, I think BYU's coaching staff is a massive advantage for them in March as well. Yeah, we didn't even talk about, we talked about head coach, but a lot of experience on the assistant coaches there. And it's shown that 9-game win streak. Jack Carpenter says, Mark Pope is 0-1 in March Madness ever since he rapped Lose Yourself at Midnight Madness. So offbeat, I started booing. You actually started booing, Jack, at Midnight Madness? You booed Mark Pope while he was rapping Lose Yourself. That's crazy. And then he also says, bro, Greeley's the absolute worst. Chase knows ball. Yeah, shout out. No, I know Colorado. Look back my hand, man.
Well, shout out Greeley. Nolan Mickle said in the chat, said, where's the location of the second week games, the Sweet 16 Elite 8?
Great question.
Those will be played in Newark, New Jersey. Chase and I spent some time in Newark together.
Yeah,
brutal train ride and a brutal train ride in Newark, New Jersey.
Well, yeah, a little 2 a.m. train ride to Newark. Magical stuff, dude. Yeah, not my favorite second weekend location, if I'm being honest.
I was praying for San Fran.
San Fran would have been the one. But, at the end of the day, if they make it second weekend, I don't care where they're playing. That'd be awesome. I really don't care.
Yeah, the flights are already getting looked at, but very refundable.
That's right.
I know, but I'm so excited. Anyhow, if you guys have more chats, more questions, pop in the chat real quick. Also, make sure sign up for the ESPN Tournament Challenge group. We posted it on Twitter. Go sign up. It's free to enter. Just go on ESPN, sign up, get in there right now, and fill out your bracket. Free to enter, one bracket per person. The winner gets an Eric Mika signed basketball. Chase, do you have that with you right now?
I do.
Yeah, go grab it super fast. Yeah, hop out of here real quick. Don't keep talking. But make sure we'll get you an Eric Mika signed basketball. We'll ship it to you, even if you're not local in Utah or anything. Yeah, that's a beautiful signature right there. Look at that. Would you look at that? And then we got a $40 Chili's gift card for you. Some other BYU church ball swag as well. We will send that to you or bring it to you personally if you're in the local Utah area. So winner take all, no second place, none of that. ESPN Tournament Challenge, they're scoring and everything. The group is now live. Go sign up. It'll be in the episode description below on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify, wherever you're listening, so you can sign up immediately from there or on our Twitter page at ChurchBallPod. So go sign up there as well. If you want a money bracket, go to the Karter Cast, $5 buy-in. Very fun stuff over there.
If you're into that thing. Yeah, it's a pretty sweet prize. I mean, the ball's got a lot of room for other signatures if you're going to keep it around, and plenty of room for some more peeps to get on it. And can't wait, man. Y'all are lucky I was wearing pants as well. I never have to stand up in these things. So it's a good thing I was dressed appropriately.
Some people in the chat are sorely disappointed. The female audience is devastated, Chase.
Yeah. Shout out the female audience. You guys are the best.
It's crazy. We got our analytics back. We 50-50 show, Chase. We have 50% females listening to the show. Isn't that crazy?
It's back. I mean, they're really quiet in the chat. I don't know what's up with that, but
I think it's dudes with their wife's phone playing. Like, no, we got to listen to this BYU podcast.
They're double watching for our analytics. They're double watching. They want us to get double the numbers. Double, yeah.
I think, like I said, I think it's like you're in the car with your lady and her phone is connected to the Bluetooth and you're like, yo, let's listen to this podcast, and clicks it from her Spotify. And so, but yeah, 50-50.
I also think the girls just want to know ball. I think shout out the ladies. They
do know ball. They know, that's the thing.
They do.
Shout out International Women's Day,
Yeah, a.k.a. your birthday, which is an odd coincidence. I wonder if there's any correlation there.
It's not a coincidence. It's an honor, Chase. Gosh. Anyhow, but keep typing in the chat if you have anything else. We'll wrap up super quickly here. Let's go through. Let's get a little delusional, Chase. How about that? Let's close the show getting a little delusional about the Cougars in March.
Yeah, let's get that screen up.
Yeah, you know what we're doing here. Gosh, we got a bracket. Isn't this gorgeous? I'm going to print off probably like 40 when we get off of this Zoom. Anyhow, BYU in the East region. Let's go through it. Let's just start clicking through this. Does it let me click through it? It's a little. Oh, do I have to log? Oh, it's not even. I'm not logged in. Oh, all right, whatever. You're looking at the matchup analytics right here. The over/under is 143.5.
Can't see that, Karter, on the screen, just so you know.
You can't see that, man. Oh, share this tab, anyways. All right, here we go. 143.5 on the total in this game. BYU money line minus 155. Early action on VCU with the plus 3.5 at minus 120 already. So there's that for you. I'm excited. We'll do a big deep dive tomorrow here on the channel as well. So let's go through this real quick. Chase, share this screen. This is ESPN. The website's being a joke right now. All right, here we go. BYU, VCU. We're going to be delusional here. So BYU takes care of VCU in this spot. Wisconsin, Montana. We're assuming Wisconsin's winning, right?
Assuming. You never know, though. The Grizz.
BYU versus Wisconsin. All right, nice. Wisconsin, BYU. Who's winning that game?
BYU.
Okay.
We're getting delusional, right?
Yeah, we're being delusional here. So Sweet 16, you got BYU versus most likely Alabama, maybe a rematch against St. Mary's. Vandy?
Ooh, Vandy, low-key, tough team. Probably Bama.
So we got BYU versus Bam in the Sweet 16 as a potential matchup. What do you like there?
Boy, I mean, we're being delusional. I would say BYU, lots of points in that one. Oh my goodness, that total over under is going to be insane. But hey, man, BYU's got the stats to keep up. Grant Nelson's maybe injured, maybe not, maybe going to play in
Shout
March.
out Grant Nelson, the real Grant Nelson, the one.
Shout out the real Grant Nelson, not the Bama one, but he is a starter for the Tide, so you never know here. Oh, we got it up. This is beautiful.
Yeah, don't worry. Who do you like in this matchup? Let's go Vandy.
I like Vandy on that one. They've met up again. Let's go Bama, BYU. Yeah, love to see it.
Let's go. Yeah, this all seems very fair.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna be Duke. Gonna be Duke in the Elite Eight.
For kicks and giggles, you never know. You never know.
Just filling out a whole bracket.
Oh
here.
no, this is
Oh
bad.
No.
We got BYU versus
Worst
Houston in the Final Four. This
Worst
would be the
case
worst
scenario.
case scenario for the Final Four. Oh, that'd be hilarious. BYU versus Houston rematch in San Antonio. Yeah, I mean, let's just see what it looks like. Oh, okay. If you're watching on YouTube, okay, that makes sense. So let's do, let's just throw Auburn over here, or maybe how about, this one's for all you diehard BYU Blue Goggles fans. How about BYU avenges Jimmer's loss? BYU beats Florida in the national title game. There you go.
Boy.
Look at that. I love it. Look,
Can you
Chase,
imagine?
last thing before we go. Where do you think BYU ends up going in the tournament? Official prediction.
I think BYU makes a second weekend run. I think they lose Sweet 16, but they have an amazing run. It's an awesome season to look back on. Lots of success, lots of things to look forward to, and the magic of March finally touches down in Provo after all these years. This is the team to do it, man. I think they have something special in them.
I think they're a Sweet 16 team as well. I think they lose to Alabama in the Sweet 16. I think Alabama has a little too much firepower for them. I think Grant Nelson comes back and he's healthy, and I think BYU does make it to Newark, man. I think we're going to see, and I'm going to be one game away from seeing Duke versus BYU, but I think BYU makes the second weekend. We got to stay firm to our preseason picks as well, where we said, hey, this is a second weekend team, and I still believe that, and I don't think this is a nightmarish draw for BYU. I still think it's winnable, and when you look at all the other stuff, like we went through all the other, 3 seeds and 4 seeds and whatnot, no matter what, you're getting somewhat of a tough draw in this tournament. This tournament is loaded.
Loaded, especially there at the top. The good news is BYU is avoiding any of those 1 seeds, those top teams until the Elite Eight if they were to make it that far. I mean, I love it, man. At the end of the day, play who's in front of you. I like BYU's chances against everyone on that bracket if they play their best ball. So it's up to them to bring it, and up to us to just sit back and enjoy March, baby. This next week. Man, the next 3 days are also low-key the longest of the year because you're just, I can't wait for Thursday.
Oh, but filling out so many brackets and everything like that, I know it's going to be unbelievable. But we will get news if Chase is going to Denver here in the next day or so, probably. We'll find out very soon.
Yep.
But so that'll determine our recording plans and everything. We should be doing live reaction pods right after the games as well. But if Chase is in Denver, we're going to have him. You're going to be in the locker room doing some interviews, buddy, if you're going down there. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, anyhow. But all right, make sure to subscribe at Church Ball and everything, Church Ball Pod. And then I'll be doing a Karter cast. I'll be going through the entire bracket later tonight as well. And then also Church Ball Pod bracket group challenge. Go sign up. Free to enter. FREE. That spells free. You remember that commercial. Free. Go sign up. Winner take all prize at Chase_Rogers0, at Karter B8, at Church Ball Pod, and everything. Subscribe. We'll be back tomorrow with an extensive BYU versus VCU preview. Go tune in. We'll see y'all then. Adios.